Three things that are wrong with our school system. About 35 years ago, I was born in a small Nigerian village. My father is a polygamous man who has many children, and every child has to stick to his mother. So I stuck to my mother. My mother is an industrious woman who sold everything anyone may need in the village. So between kerosene to beer, palm oil, my mother was selling everything, and since I am her last child and the only child with her, she was forced to make me her business partner since I was a child. So at age 7, my mother would roast groundnuts and ask me to go and sell it. And then at age 10, she would ask me to travel to other villages to go and buy what she was selling. So needless to say, I fell in love with entrepreneurship since my childhood. But there was a problem, and that was my schooling. Whenever I go to school, it's either I hear our headmaster advising us to study hard so we could have a good job, or I hear a frustrated teacher threatening to fail us and then tell us that if we keep on failing her boring subject, we may never be able to work for banks and some big companies. Even though I loved entrepreneurship, everything I was being taught in school was how to work 35 years for another person. So one day, when I was 13, I got tired of my teacher and got out of her class. Roaming about on our playfield, I looked to the sky and asked myself, why must everyone teach me how to be an employee? Why can't someone teach me how to build a business? In the part of the world where I come from, you dare not challenge anyone older than you, especially if you're still a child. So I couldn't ask my teachers why they always talk about the jobs. Instead, I made school my priority while doing business by the side. Until one day, it was the year 2007. I was studying accounting at the Osun State Polytechnic in Nigeria, and a particular boring lecturer was coming to class. So I ran to the library and read this book. While reading The Magic of Thinking Big, I came across a sentence that changed my life forever. It goes something like, every human is a scientist, and the laboratory we operate on is our fellow humans. Your success or failure in life depends on how well you're able to cooperate, deal, and collaborate with others. Essentially, Dr. David Schwartz teaches that it doesn't matter how many other things you know in life, if you don't know how to deal, cooperate, and collaborate with other humans, you'll fail in life. So when I read the statement, I became so furious that I wished I could kill the school system. I was 20 years old and 6 months at this time, and I had spent all my life in school, yet nobody ever taught me how to deal with and collaborate with other humans. Then I told myself, if the school doesn't teach me how to build a business, how to be rich, how to have a great marriage, or even how to collaborate with others, what then is school teaching me? That was the day I decided to get out of school. So 1 year after this day, I announced to my family members that I was getting out of school without any certificate, and I'll never sit down in a school classroom to learn anything ever again in my life. Oh, my sweet mother was crying. My father was angry. Even my brother disowned me. But school is too poisonous for me. So much that I would rather die than go back to that prison. Now, let's talk about 3 fundamental things that I think are wrong with schools. First, let's call it a herd mentality, or better still, a herd curriculum. School simply assumes that every student is the same. Students are taught the same subjects, the same way, at the same time, and if for any reason you don't like a particular subject, that means something is wrong with you. And even though science has proven again and again that we are all unique beings, you don't have to be a scientist to understand this. Well, think about the closest people to you. One person likes geography, but he hates biology. Another person likes mathematics, but he hates literature. Here comes the third person. He hates everything but sport, art, or music. He just wants to play basketball all day, but the school says you're a loser except you pass math. My agric teacher told me that I wasn't likely to succeed in life simply because I was making money from my mates in school. Business is my life's passion. When I was around 13, I would go and raw corn, roast it, and after school sell it at 100% profit. At age 15, I bought a bicycle and got my mates to rent my bicycle while I was making money. At age 16, I bought a photo camera. I would take it to school, take photos of my mates, and get their money. So one day, however, one of the teachers saw some students looking at the photos I took for them in a boring class, and I was invited to the staff room, which is an office where all the teachers meet students offenders. One of them told me that I'll probably not succeed in life. Yeah, people who love business don't succeed, you know. What my teachers want me to do is love their boring subjects, and even though I did well in school, there are some subjects I hated like the devil. Yet, there was always someone to threaten you that your future depends on that subject. If you fail math, you'll amount to nothing in life. If you fail accounting, you'll never be able to work for a bank. Even though English isn't my first language and I could struggle to at least communicate with it, there's always someone to tell me, if you don't know the rules of Concord, your life is finished. I beg, I know we're British. Not try, they try speak another person's language. So, since English isn't my language, why would anyone expect me to know all the rules of English? Can't you just appreciate the fact that I can communicate with a language? The second problem with school is that we learn by memorizing. I'll tell you two simple stories. Between the years 2005 to 2008, while studying accounting in a Nigerian polytechnic, I was the best student in my class. I was the only person who ever got to distinction, and I was called a genius. But guess what? It's useless. It's useless because today, just 13 years after, I can't remember any single thing I learned in those classes. Even though I was the best student then, if you give me any of those exams to write again now, I'll definitely score an F, which means I never really knew those things in the first place. I simply memorized them and wrote them back to my teachers. Now, for some people who think that that's kind of normal, well, it's not, because I'll give you another example. I learned how to ride a bicycle about 20 years ago, but for more than 15 years, I didn't ride a bicycle until sometime last year. My friend and I were walking in the street and I saw some children with a bicycle. I walked up to them and said, "Oh, may I ride your bicycle?" And behold, I still rode a bicycle perfectly. The reason why I can still ride a bicycle after 15 years of leaving the bicycle is that I learned how to ride a bicycle the way human brains were designed to learn, by doing. The reason why you'll forget everything you learned in school 1 year after you graduate from school is because school is not teaching our brains the way it evolves to learn. Our brains don't evolve to learn by memorizing. Our brains evolve to learn by doing. And that's why you can't learn anything by memorizing dumb information. If you think I don't know what I'm talking about, go and learn how to drive a car by reading books or going to some classroom. Well, you'll never learn how to drive a car until you actually jump into a car and drive. The best cooks in the world simply cook, and cook. The best entrepreneurs simply start businesses, make mistakes, try again and again. Nobody in the world becomes a master in anything by sitting down in a classroom. And that leads me to the third thing I think is wrong with our school system. It takes too long. In his 1982 novel, The Transmigration of Timothy Archer, Philip K. Dick wrote, "The trouble with being educated is that it takes a long time. It uses up the better part of your life." Let me be honest with you. I think we need to teach every child some basics, like how to read, how to write, and arithmetics. But I don't think anyone needs to be in some prison called school till they're 23. The reason why we spend too many years in school is that most of the things we learn in year 1 have disappeared from our memory by year 2. So we have to learn again. For example, in my country, what students learn in any subjects in primary 4, 5, and 6 are still going to be repeated in GSS 1, 2, or 3. Similar things happen in the university. Simply because memorizing knowledge is the dumbest way to learn. We can teach people to be doctors, lawyers, accountants, entrepreneurs, writers, athletes, without condemning them to decades of memorizing information. The way to do it is to get them out into the world as early as possible. A child who wishes to be an entrepreneur should be out by age 13 selling something. A child who wants to be an athlete should be out by age 13 spending 6 hours every day doing what he likes. A child who wants to be a medical doctor will understand medicine better in a hospital. This is not to say that people should not read or be taught, but to say doing is superior to memorizing. I'll understand the definitions of different parts of a car better if you first take me to a place where those parts are needed. I'll understand biology better if you allow me to spend time with nature, plants, and animals. A 20-year-old who spends 1 year following a medical doctor around and seeing everything he's doing will understand medicine better than 25 years old who spends 5 years in a university. A 20-year-old who had started 3 businesses, failed and tried again the 4th time will understand entrepreneurship far better than most MBAs. John Holt said, "Learning is not the product of teaching. Learning is a product of the activities of learners. We learn by doing and not by memorizing. It's that simple." George Creer said, "Learning is creation, not consumption. Knowledge is not something a learner absorbs, but something a learner creates. It is in creating, in getting knowledge, and in doing that we actually learn." Wendy Fresnitz said, and I quote, "Our rapidly moving information-based society badly needs people who know how to find facts rather than memorizing them." William Opsky Wimsatt said, "There were no friendship classes, no classes on how to navigate a bureaucracy, build an organization, raise money, create a database, build a house, buy a house, love a child, spot a scam, talk someone out of suicide, or figure out what was important to me. Not knowing how to do these things is what messes people up in life, not whether they know algebra or can analyze literature." If you like this video, you might like my book, 13 Secrets School Did Not Teach You About How to Be Rich. I'll link to it in the description. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve Courage.